Hello there, everyone. I stand in front of you all today as a complete nobody, worthless to everyone who doesn't have a single care in the world about me, or who I am, or what matters to me. I am making this video on YouTube and sharing it before the whole internet, explaining how I am prepared to take the biggest risk that I have ever taken in my life. Now, before anyone even watches this video, they will already come into it with an opinion due to the absurdity of the idea that someone would ever do such a thing like this, let alone in my specific circumstances. And so therefore, it will be my responsibility to explain myself in the most precise manner that I can possibly be able to in order to help you all understand what I've went through to come to a point where I would do something like this. And so I will begin this video by making it very clear from the start what I will be talking to you all about and how it is all culminated into this very action that you are all witnessing at this very moment. Me dropping out of college for 1 year to pursue my dream of YouTube full time. I will begin by explaining to you all my YouTube journey and what I have done on my channel for the past several years, but specifically only the context that helps you all understand how my journey has driven me to this point where I've now come to believe that this is the only way. I will then go on to explain my personal life outside of YouTube and how the constant juggling of trying to maintain a balance of successfully fulfilling each facet of my life in regards to all of that was a detriment to my aspiration of becoming a successful YouTuber that has made it big, just like the most famous of them all. And from there, I will then transition to explaining the game of life and how what we call the matrix of working this 9 to 5 days a week as an adult was something that I was slowly seeing myself becoming a part of over the years, and how this will be my last chance before I become fully absorbed into it. Once I explain that, I will then explain the moment that I made this choice that could potentially change the outcome of my life, to then explain what my specific plans and routine will be like for this year, where I will then conclude this video with my final words, where I will speak to you all from the heart. Now, as you all can see, I'm currently using a script to better explain myself to all of you, because as much as I'd like to believe that there will be people who click on this video and consider me to be brave and passionate, there will be others who will think that I'm insane and foolish for doing such a crazy thing. And so regardless of which spectrum anyone falls on, everyone must know of the unimaginable amount of time that I've spent thinking about this, so that they can know crystal clear why I am doing this, and that I did not make this choice on a whim, and that I completely understood the severity and the magnitude of what I'm about to do from January 1st, 2026 to December 31st, 2026. So now that I've presented to you all my opening words, I will now begin this video by talking about my YouTube channel. So on the day of January 24th, 2020, that was the day when I created this channel known as TheHarpyEagle. Ever since then, including this video, I have made 468 videos completely by myself, spending several hours on the majority of those videos. And at around the year of 2022, I decided to take it up a notch with my level of dedication to this by beginning to record videos in my car, which was a lot of trial and error for quite some time. The reason why I began to do that is because I was frustrated over my inability to record videos with the level of enthusiasm and excitement that I have and would like to express while playing all these indie games that I truly had a fun time playing. Because let's be honest here, at the end of the day, the majority of people want to see a gaming YouTuber with high energy who's constantly excited and hyped about the game that they're playing. Nobody wants to watch a soulless vampire who's giving off no energy and doesn't have any interesting reactions to the game they're playing. Trying to record videos in my apartment was going to turn me exactly into that. Because in the back of my mind, there was always this constant fear of whether or not I was being too loud while recording, meaning that I was constantly suppressing myself. And on top of that, if I did decide to just simply be myself and start screaming, there was a real risk of having my family evicted because of the noise complaints that my neighbors would be making. And so, I decided that I would get out of my comfort zone, and that's when I started figuring out how to record in my car in the best way possible. That's where this trial and error came into play, and after a long time, that's when it came to the point that I'm at right now, where to this day, I drive to an RTD parking garage and bring a backpack with me that has all the gear that I need while I'm recording in there, and most importantly, I'm now free to be myself. Since I have so much passion for this, it's very hard for me to just stay quiet while I'm playing these games, especially the horror games with all these jump scares. And over the years, while I continue to do this, I improved exponentially with my editing skills and my commentary skills, where I can now say with 100% confidence that I can make videos that are worth people's time. And yet, despite all of that, and how far I've been willing to go to do this, the level of dedication that I've put into this, after 6 years on YouTube, I've only reached 786 subscribers. Not even 1,000. And once I took that into mind, I started to develop the mindset that if you were going to make it, you would have made it by now. Why is it that I've spent 6 years doing this and I'm still at the bottom of the bottom? Considering that many of the people who are successful would have already, if not gotten to 1 million or anything higher, would have definitely already gotten a certain amount of success on YouTube where a foundation has clearly been set. Maybe 100,000, 50,000, 25,000, or even 10,000. Let me give you an example so that you can clearly understand why this frightened me when I came to this realization. Say that there is a 10-story building, okay? A building with 10 floors. And each floor represents a number range. From this number to that number. Let's say that floor 1 is from 0 to 999, floor 2 is from 1,000 to 5,000, floor 3 is from 5,000 to 10,000, floor 4 is 10,000 to 25,000, floor 5 is 25,000 to 50,000, floor 6 is 50,000 to 99,999, floor 7 is from 100,000 to 500,000, floor 8 is from 500,000 to 999,999, floor 9 is from 1 million to 9 million, and then floor 10 is 10 million and anything beyond that. 10 for 10 million. So after all these years, I wanted to, at the very least, be at floor 6 or floor 7. Anywhere between 50,000 to 100,000 subscribers after 6 years of hard work. Now here's the issue. What frightens me is not the fact that after all this time, I haven't gotten to where I want to be, but it's also that where I am right now is even worse than I imagined myself being in the worst case scenario. If I'm not at floor 6 or floor 7 after all this time, fine. But it's that I'm not even at floor 3 or even floor 2. I'm still at floor 1. Do you know what that means to me? It means that it might as well have been that for all this time that I made nearly 500 videos, drove to a parking garage and back in the snow, in the rain, and in the summer for nearly 4 years now, and having spent literally over 1,000 hours of editing on every single video that I've ever made, it means to me that life is basically telling me that I've never even put in any work, and that it might as well mean that it wouldn't have made any difference if I had put in any work, after all these years, even if I was completely lazy and never decided to start recording videos in my car and stay in my comfort zone by recording in my room and not having to go anywhere, never having edited any of my videos, and just simply upload the raw footage of the gameplay that I recorded, everything would still be the exact same. It doesn't matter how hard I try, because no matter what I do, I'll never get anything out of it. So just don't try at all, because if you did that, then you would still be exactly where you are. Hard work meant nothing, because it always came down to luck. And so now back to when I said, if you were gonna make it, you would have made it by now. I've realized that the only reason why I haven't made it by now can only be one of three reasons. Either one, because you were not good enough. Two, because you were not lucky enough. Or three, because you're an outlier. And your success will be the most unique, non-linear success that we have ever seen on YouTube. Now, everything I said just now about it always came down to luck, that's not how I truly view it. I'm just simply saying how I could view my journey in the most negative way possible. But I refuse to be negative. And so I don't believe that the reason why I haven't made it by now is because I'm not lucky enough, which means that it can only come down to the other two reasons. That I'm either not good enough or that I'm an outlier. And so now, this is one part of my psyche that has driven me to this. Me dropping out of college for 1 year to pursue YouTube with everything that I've got. Because sometimes being good enough doesn't just simply mean good enough with skill or talent. Sometimes it can mean not being good enough with the consistency that's required to do this, apart from skill and talent. You can be talented, but if you're not consistent, you're not going to get that far. And consistency is something that I'm going to tie in with the later sections of this video, especially with life outside of YouTube and the cost of living. And so seeing myself reach a certain level of success means everything to me, because just like how I said, I'm not following the same pattern as the people who made it. You want to know who I am following the same pattern as? People who never made it, and people who quit. Those are the only people who've spent all these years going after something, and even after all that time that they'd spent, they still were not successful. You don't spend 6 years going to the gym, working out as hard as you can, and you still can't even get a six-pack. Just like how you don't spend 6 years on YouTube, editing as much as you can and uploading as consistently as you can, and you don't even get to 1,000 subscribers. I refuse to follow in the same footsteps as people who have never made it. I'm trying to be phenomenal. And so if it only comes down to a 50-50 of either me not being good enough or me being an outlier, this year will be the ultimate way of revealing that. And so now, I think I'd like to move ahead and begin talking about my life outside of YouTube. And so, if it wasn't already hard enough, as if it wasn't already hard enough to fight this war that I'm in with this failed journey of mine on YouTube, I still have another war within my personal life when it comes to the things that I'm expected to do just like everyone else. During all the years that I had been doing YouTube, I had also been going to work in college, which would also take my time and energy. And that's something that I'm going to make a very big emphasis on very soon. Time and energy. When I started YouTube at the beginning of this decade, I was in my last few months of my last year in high school, getting ready to finish 12th grade and graduate with my high school diploma. On top of that, I was also ready to transition from high school to college, which I successfully did during the pandemic, where my first year in college was all online, which was a pretty unique experience to me. And so the point that I'm about to make with this is a bit bigger than just applying it to YouTube, but it also applies to life. Because what this represents is that I was just beginning my life as a young man, and that I was slowly but surely getting myself exposed little by little to the workload and the responsibilities that I'm expected to uphold within my life. And the reason why it's important for me to address that in regards to this video of me dropping out of college to pursue YouTube full-time is because as each year passes, I can literally see myself becoming busier and busier and busier with everything that I thought I took care of, only to realize that there's still so much more that needs to be taken care of. When you think that there was only one responsibility, 3 more responsibilities pop up out of thin air. The point that I'm trying to make with this is that I was getting much busier year after year. And the reason why that became the case is because of 2 things. One for my job and one for my university. When it came to my university, I had been doing it part-time for nearly all these years, except for the first year that I did it in 2020. And quite frankly, I think that's the only reason why I was ever even able to do YouTube at all for all these years. If I was doing it full-time, I think I genuinely would have made less than 200 videos within these 6 years. But why is it important that I explain that I did college part-time? Because it took longer for me to start doing the more intermediate and advanced classes to realize how time-consuming working on a degree would really be, where I would become exposed to the workload of these intermediate and advanced classes after 2 years. Because I'm doing college part-time, I wouldn't experience the workload of these difficult classes until around 4 years later, which would be 2024. The classes that I've been doing for the majority of my time at the university were the beginner classes. So they were less time consuming to me, on top of the fact that, again, I was doing it part-time, which gave me the false impression that the intermediate and advanced classes won't be that much more time consuming than the classes that I'm completing right now. And man, was I wrong about that in 2024, and completely dead wrong about that in 2025. And as for my job, because I'm growing older as each year passes, I'm not going to be living with my parents forever, and eventually I'm going to be moving out. So therefore, to prepare myself from leaving the nest and standing on my own 2 feet, I'm slowly going to start covering more expenses for myself that were previously being covered by my parents. But to make more money, I would need to either work a higher paying job or spend more hours and more days at the job that I'm already working at, or even both. These 2 things, becoming busier with my life with more advanced classes at my university, as well as becoming busier with my job in order to take care of more expenses, reached an all-time high for me in 2024. And then in 2025, it became overwhelming for me. Now you see, it's not overwhelming if I'm just taking care of these things by themselves. It was overwhelming when I was doing both that, college and work, alongside with YouTube. YouTube, something that already requires all of your time and all of your energy to become better at it to the point where you can make videos that are worth people's time. But with the kind of life that I had with working college, it was impossible for me to spend the time and the energy that I needed to spend on YouTube when I'm already spending a significant amount of time and energy on my job at my university. And that is when I came to the realization that this is what life is all about when it comes to the 9 to 5, and how the 9 to 5 would prevent me from ever being able to do YouTube at the highest level that's required of me to become successful at it. And another term that can be used to describe what the 9 to 5 is the cost of living. And so now that I've explained to you all how I've become busier and busier with my life and how that takes up my time and energy, I think it would be the perfect time to explain what the cost of living is. You see, what I'm trying to do right now is go after a dream. But before there is a dream that is chased after, there is something that matters more than that. And as much as I would like to say that your dreams are what matter most objectively, it's what matters most to you in terms of happiness and fulfillment. But in terms of what objectively matters most when it comes to being alive, is survival. And that's what the cost of living is. The cost of living is being able to have the exact amount of money that is required to just simply have the basic necessities for survival. In other words, to basically just not die. Food, water, shelter, etc. We need money in order to continuously acquire these resources that are absolutely vital for our survival. In the prehistoric times, when humanity was still just a bunch of cavemen and cavewomen, even long before these ancient empires like ancient Egypt or the Roman Empire or the Kingdom of Aksum, when tens of thousands of years ago, when human beings were still just living in caves, survival was dependent on whether or not they could catch their prey, and we'll just make it a bit more simple by saying that it was only a deer they would catch. So in the prehistoric times, the cost of living was being able to catch the deer in order to have the basic necessities that were needed just to simply survive. In the modern times, what we're trying to quote-unquote catch is money. Money is the modernized version of the deer. Where cavemen would wake up and go outside in the world to make ends meet by catching the deer, the modern man, the 9-to-5 man, wakes up and goes outside in the world to make ends meet by working a job. And when it comes to the cost of living, there are two intrinsic commodities that we have that are used when we are trying to fulfill the cost of living: our time and our energy. You know, I've now come to realize that the terms full-time or part-time are actually incomplete words. What they're really short for is full-time and full energy, as well as part-time and part energy. And this is leading on to the next point that I'm making about the cost of living and how that ties in with what I've said about myself getting busier in my life outside of YouTube, and how that's pushed me to make this decision about dropping out of college for a year to pursue YouTube full-time. You see, apart from children, almost all, if not all, adults will have a cost of living that is placed on them. But just because we all have a cost of living, that doesn't mean that everyone has the same level of the cost of living. You have children where they're basically at level 0. Kids have no cost of living because their cost of living is being fulfilled by their parents. Their resources of food, water, and shelter are already provided to them by someone else. But once you get older, everything slowly starts to depend on you. And so now when you become a teenager and probably have a job, you might pay for a very few amount of things like the gas for your car, some food that you eat, a phone bill that you might have. And so now you have taken on the minimum cost of living. You are putting in a minimum amount of time and a minimum amount of energy into survival. And keep in mind, any time and any energy that you don't spend on survival is automatically free time and free energy at your disposal. So even if the teenager doesn't have a job, or even if a teenager does have a job, they don't have as many responsibilities or expenses that robs them of as much time and as much energy as a young adult, and especially as much as a grown adult. So now, we move on to the young adults, who instead of having the minimum cost of living, they have a higher level being the partial cost of living. Partial is more than minimum, but it's still not enough. A young adult is usually someone who's in college and might have to spend much more on food, much more on their own car, where instead of going from just simply putting gas in the car, they now have to work on getting an oil change, getting tires changed, getting certain parts of the car replaced. And aside from their car, they probably pitch in a little bit for rent to help out their parents if they decided to not live in a dorm room at college, but still live with their parents. And they have a few more responsibilities and expenses that are a part of their life compared to a teenager. And so therefore, there is a bit more time and a bit more energy that they are spending on survival, which simultaneously means that on the other hand, there is a little bit less free time and a little bit less free energy at their disposal. Which is where we now get to the grown adult who takes on the maximum cost of living. They truly have to take care of all the expenses that they have in life. They have to pay for rent, unlike a teenager or a young adult who might only pay a little bit for rent. They pay for all their food, all their clothes, all their utilities, all their personal care, all their monthly subscriptions to anything that's either important or entertainment, and all the other expenses that you could possibly think of. They are spending the maximum amount of time and the maximum amount of energy on survival, which devastatingly means that on the other hand, they have little to no free time and little to no free energy at their disposal because they spent all of it just to simply not die. And just a side note, this is where people in life have a problem with this way that life works, the matrix. Because when you spend all of your time and all of your energy on something because you're forced to do it by necessity, it becomes very demotivating within your life to want to do anything because you don't have a choice in the matter as to what you will be doing within your day. And if you don't have a choice in the matter as to what you will be doing within your day, and it's what you spend the majority of your day doing, this is where people start to figuratively say that they are a slave to the system. And that's why you usually see adults being so down and out with their lives, where they now try to make up that emptiness within their heart through drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, sex, and any other kind of things that you can think of. Because if my pain is going to last me for my entire life of having to enslave myself to all my time and all my energy on something that I have no interest in doing and automatically must do, then at the very least I'm going to try to give myself a temporary relief by numbing my mind and making me not think about my problems for the night. And in all honesty, it really does make me have the biggest sympathy for all these men and women that have to put up with a life like that. But back to the main point, now that I've talked about the maximum cost of living, which means the maximum amount of time and the maximum amount of energy that is spent on trying to survive, this now ties in with me talking about how I was becoming busier as the years went by with work in college, and how, again, that pushed me to this decision that I'm making right now. I was doing work part-time so that I could be able to spend some time in college. And vice versa, I was doing college part-time so that I could go to work part-time. Because just simply trying to get a degree does not put away the expenses that I'm still expected to cover, so I still needed to make money regardless, whether I was in college or not. And remember, I was also doing YouTube on top of that. So because I did both part-time, you would think that I was spending part of my time and part of my energy all together. No. With the amount of hours that I would work a week at my job, which on average would be about 20 hours a week, combined with the amount of hours that I would spend going to my classes, sitting down to hear these lectures, and also doing my homework, projects, tests, quizzes, etc., the amount of time and energy that I would spend just on these two facets of my life alone, it was almost on par with someone who would take on the maximum cost of living. And then when you combine that with YouTube, and having the sheer will to make almost 500 videos even within that kind of life, it absolutely made my life so occupied with my time and my energy, where it was like I was just as busy as a grown adult who's living on their own, taking care of all their expenses that they have in life. Now, you see, it didn't start to feel like this within the first few years. It started to feel like this once I was starting to do the more difficult classes at my university, and coincidentally, when at the same time, I was starting to cover more expenses within my personal life. This started to really take an effect on me in the year 2024, and in 2025, it was impossible for me to do it all at once. I felt so much fatigue, both physically and mentally, that I was wondering how on earth would it be possible for me to continue staying dedicated to YouTube and to continue working hard to upload more and more videos to hopefully get more views and more subscribers. Let me put it to you in a different perspective for all of you. Because all of this was happening to me, I was slowly having less and less and less and less time on YouTube, because I was slowly having less free time and less free energy to spend on making YouTube videos. And that's very apparent when you can take into account the amount of videos that I uploaded within the years of 2024 and 2025 compared to the years 2023, 2022, and all the way back to the beginning. In the year 2020, I made 132 videos, which is roughly one video every 3 days, and 8 of those videos were streams. In the year 2021, I had made 86 videos, which was a bit shorter than 2020. But then in 2022, I brought it right back to the same level of consistency. And in that year, I made 125 videos. And then in 2023, that's when life started to kick in a little bit. And instead of uploading as many videos as before, I had only uploaded 56 videos. And then in 2024, it became even worse when I only uploaded 42 videos within that year. And then in 2025, when I hit my all-time low, I had only uploaded 26 videos within the entirety of last year. So you can clearly see how I was starting to have less time on my hands to do YouTube. And this is where I now tie it back in with what I said nearly at the beginning of this video, where I said that this matrix of life, of working the 9 to 5, was something I was slowly seeing myself become a part of and fully absorbed into. And seeing how I was already barely making one video every 2 weeks, which is what 26 videos a year means, because there's only 52 weeks within a year. I already knew that in 2026 and even in 2027, if I were to take on the most advanced classes for my degree, especially once I take on my senior seminar and still try to go to work on top of that, at that point, it might as well have been me quitting YouTube, because I would have had no time and no energy at all to spend on recording videos, editing them, and then uploading them with the intent of making something watchable that's worth people's time. If I had continued down this path, I would have came to the point where I was making 0 videos a year, because I would become too busy with college and work, and that's where I would have become fully absorbed into this kind of life that we call the Matrix. And so this is the problem. Like I said earlier, it's not overwhelming when I try to do these things by themselves. If I wanted to be mediocre, I would just simply hate my life because I'm not doing something that I enjoy, and that whatever job that I am working, I'm just simply doing that to fulfill the cost of living. But the workload wouldn't be too much for me to handle. It's only when I try to do both at once, fulfill the cost of living, while also trying to fulfill what I like to call the sense of fulfillment, which is going after your dreams. And so everyone knows that the answer is that what you need to do is find a way to combine the two in one, so that you're not exclusively spending time and energy in 2 different ways, where one way you're spending your time and energy on survival through the cost of living, and then time and energy again on fulfillment by chasing your dreams. In simpler words, getting to do what you love for a job. And that means that you are able to fulfill the cost of living through your dreams because of how successful you've become with it. Money is not what really matters to me, but it's that by having money co-opted with my dreams, I can now spend all of my time and all of my energy just simply on my dream. And by doing that, I'm simultaneously fulfilling the cost of living. 2 birds with 1 stone. And while I haven't made any money from this for the past 6 years, I still enjoyed the experience so much that I'm willing to throw it all on the line right now. And so with all of this in mind, I know that was a lot that I just said right now. I really did have to stop and think to myself about what my future was going to look like for me if I had continued going down this path. And I realized that I had to make up my mind as to whether or not I really wanted to do this, which is now the perfect time for me to transition to the next part of this video, being the ultimate decision. Now, if you'll excuse me all for 1 minute, I must change my battery real quickly. And so seeing that the cost of living and the overall responsibilities as an adult were slowly consuming me as a whole, where I spent almost no time on YouTube, I realized that it's impossible for me to do both. I gotta make a decision right here, right now, as to which one I want to do, and the only one that I want to do. I had now come to a crossroad within my life. Either go down the path of my university with my degree, or go down the path of my channel as TheHarpyEagle. And you see, crossroads are already nerve-wracking enough for people in their lives when they have to make a life-changing decision. But you can clearly tell how certain and confident I am that things are going to go well if I go down the path of YouTube, considering everything that I've said about not even reaching 1,000 subscribers after 6 years, and the whole mentality that if I was going to make it, I would have made it by now. But it was after last year, in the month of April 2025, when I had officially made the decision as to what would be the right path to go, when I realized what was the right decision to make. Now, I'm not going to get into all the specifics of my college degree, because this is what it's going to be about. It has to do with college that made me decide this decision. And so I'm not going to go into all the specifics of my college degree, but I went to Metropolitan State University of Denver, MSU Denver, the same university that Pam Grier went to. That's right. Miss Jackie Brown, Miss Foxy Brown, that's her. And you know, similarly enough, I'm doing the same thing as her, where I'm leaving the same college to do the same thing, which is to pursue a dream. Although she pursued her dream in acting, and I'm pursuing my dream in YouTube. But anyways, the degree that I was trying to major in was video production, with a minor in digital media. Now, back to what I was saying about how I did college part-time. It took longer for me to become exposed to the more advanced classes for my degree, and so last year, in 2025, I was in an intermediate class where our professor tried to do her very best to give us an idea as to how our lives would really be like if we tried to get ourselves into a career with this degree of ours. And it was one of those classes where it starts halfway through the semester, which also means that everything goes by a bit quicker. And so we started that class in March, and then in April was when it started to really take full effect when it comes to what this simulation of our lives would be like, basically, if we had decided to find a job with this degree. And I can tell you this with utmost certainty, unlike anything else that I have said within this entire video. It was one of the most miserable things that I had ever done within my life. Everything that I had done during that time was something that I despised so much. And it made me realize that if this was the kind of life that I was going to live, if I decided to graduate and get a job with this degree, I would rather kill myself than do that. I'm not joking. It was more than just simply the kind of work and the workload behind it. It was the time that I was spending into it. It literally felt like I was spending my entire life on that class during those few months. And my job during that time wasn't giving me any lesser hours during that time. So you can imagine how all of that tied in together. And if you look back at how that affected me when it comes to how often I was able to upload, you can take a look back at my channel within last year. It's not going to be that many to look through because again, it was only 26 videos. And you will see that in the month of April, I uploaded one video on April 7th, 2025, which I believe was a Friday Night Funkin' video of whatever new update came out at that time last year. And the next video that I would upload after that, right after that, would be on May 28th, 2025. It was almost 2 months that I hadn't been able to upload anything on my channel, and I truly realized how much of a hindrance that college was starting to become and how much it was getting in my way of doing this. I was so happy when I finished the class because I thought I would finally be free from it and never have to do anything like that ever again. And well, I was wrong about that, because it wasn't until October, which was literally 2 months ago, where I took another class that was a part of my degree. And it was basically the same rinse and repeat that I did in April. And when I already saw where this was going to be going, instead of going through it and suffering like I did last time, I completely abandoned my university and stopped going there for the past 2 months. I completely gave up on doing any of my assignments because I realized that, again, it's impossible for me to do both. And seeing how much I was starting to hate doing this, of trying to work towards this degree, I was not going to go back to campus and continue with any more of that misery. I ended up failing all of my classes for this semester because I completely stopped doing anything for any of them. And at the same time that I was reaching this point of clarity within my life, I simply had to compare the level of misery that I would have ever experienced on YouTube to that, to really see which path is the right path for me to go. And given the fact that I had been doing YouTube for a little bit longer than I had been doing college, I had a lot of years, 6 years, to see whether or not it was making me feel miserable to do it, or if it was something that I truly loved. And in all honesty, I'd have to say that the more that I would do YouTube, the more that I would love it. Now, what I didn't love was feeling frustrated at not going anywhere with it. But I always loved being able to record videos and edit them into content that people would love to watch. And so now that we are here on January 1st, 2026, the official decision that I have made as to which path in my life that I want to take is the path of YouTube, where I become the TheHarpyEagle. But now, this is where we need to talk about what I will actually do within this year and how my schedule is going to go down. So, one saying that I've always loved hearing and applying to myself ever since I first heard it is, actions speak louder than words. I can stand in front of you all with a script in my hand and be well dressed for a serious day like this, but if after this day I go on to still upload at the same rate as before and not even make any difference, then all of this was just one big lie. So when it comes to what I plan on doing within this year, my goal is to try and get out 1 to 2 videos a week. There's 52 weeks within a year. So if I fulfill this goal, this plan of mine, then I can upload anywhere between 52 to 104 videos. The reason why I'm saying 1 to 2 and not being selective enough to make it just 1 or just 2 is because with the hundreds of games that I've played on my channel, I know how not all games are the same in terms of how much editing I would have to put in to make the video reach the standard that I would like. And so if there comes a time where I play a game that's more difficult to edit, it can possibly steer me off my desired goal a little bit, where instead of getting out 2 videos a week, which is what my preferred goal is, it will make me upload only 1 video within that week. And on top of that, when it comes to the level of consistency that I once had in 2020 and in 2022, where I uploaded over 120 videos within those separate years, the reason why I was able to upload that many videos is because the level of editing that I put into my videos at that time was not the same level of editing that I put into my videos now. And so as I try to improve year after year, video after video, doing more editing requires more time. It does. And so trying to get out the same amount of videos as before will be a lot more difficult now. But if I manage my life with the most discipline and stay dedicated throughout this entire year, I can make it happen. And who knows, maybe something big will happen because of that. And the other plan that I have as well is now using all social media platforms, all of them, that I can possibly use to get as much exposure as possible. I've seen plenty of people where they would upload clips from their YouTube videos, and I could see where if their clip didn't do good on TikTok, it would do good on Instagram. Or vice versa, if it didn't do good on Instagram, it did good on TikTok. I'm going to share a link right now to all my socials that I plan on using in order to make all of this happen, for any of you that choose to support me with this new chapter within my life, for anyone who even cares. And so how often I plan on uploading clips of the games that I play and upload on YouTube will be the same rate of 1 to 2 times a week of how many times I'm uploading clips on all my socials outside of YouTube. Whether that's uploading 3 clips in one day, or 2 clips on one day and then 2 more clips on another day within that same week, it all really depends on how much content I can be able to clip into a highlight that I would view as something that could potentially be entertaining for people to watch. And due to the fact that not only have I quit going to college for a whole year, and I also quit my job, which was being a pizza delivery driver, where now I work as a Uber Eats driver and a DoorDash driver. Now I can manage my own time for when I want to go to work and when I want to be editing. The obvious downside of this, though, is that I would be making less money if I did that too often. If I tried to take advantage of my new flexibility to the most extreme, there would be a shortage of money. But let me tell you this. Let me tell you something. If I have to start spending less time in order to continue doing this, meaning that I will be making less money as a direct result of that, then I am ready to make sacrifices when it comes to the certain things that I buy that I will no longer be buying, if it means that this is the only way that I can make up for the shortage of money that I would potentially be experiencing within this year, because I'm spending more time on trying to make this become a reality. Because after being a young adult who's been working a job for all these years, I've realized that no matter how much you try to chase after money, as long as you're working a minimum wage job, you will always never have enough money. And so the only way is to get a job that will get you enough money, which is usually through a certification or a degree. But with everything that I've said about time and energy, I can't really spend my time and energy trying to do that if it gets in my way of doing YouTube. And so this is the plan of the year. Upload 1 to 2 videos on YouTube a week. Upload on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok clips of those YouTube videos 1 to 2 times a week, with as many clips as I can make from the videos that I upload onto YouTube. And also, the other plan that I have that's not practical is to have faith that all of this will turn into something good. I've been trying to have faith for the past 6 years now, and as each year passes, it does get harder to keep the faith. But now, I'm still going to hold on to it stronger than ever before. So now, I will finish this video with my final words, but I will not be speaking to you all from a script, word for word. Now, I will be speaking to all of you directly from the heart to get my last thoughts out on what this year is going to be like for me. So now, for this last part, I had this planned out. I made sure to write on an index card just a few bullet points for the main things that I want to tell all of you, because I already know that this video is going to be extremely long. So if this is going to be something that I didn't completely plan out because I'm not reading it from a script or word for word, I need to make sure that I'm not just simply rambling, and that I'm continuing to stay concise for all of you with everything that I feel like is necessary for me to say in this video, because of how serious it is. I do need to get every single thing out to let everybody know exactly what I'm doing. So, the first thing that I'm going to start off by saying is that this is not going to be an easy life, guys. This is not going to be an easy life. I know what I'm getting myself into. Trust me, I know. And, you know, one question that some people might have is, okay, well, Harpy, here's the thing, man. Even if you do grow with this, let's say you grow to a point where you do see that there is a foundation set for you. but not enough where you could literally make enough money to do this completely by itself, where you're able to make enough money from YouTube to fulfill the cost of living. But you're able to make enough where it could be like a side hustle. What if you were to reach that level of success only, where you don't get to like 100,000 or 1,000,000, which I'm not thinking I'm going to by the end of this year, but you only get to like 1,000 or 5,000, you know? And so it's like, what would happen if you got to that by the end of this year? Are you still not going to go to college after that year? Or are you still going to go to college, but try to really, really do it part-time and then still try to put in your time with YouTube because you see that you have a foundation set for you, that you've reached a certain level of success of 1,000 subscribers and above? To be completely honest, if I did get a certain amount of success after this, but it's not enough to where I could be able to make a living from this, I haven't fully thought that out. And quite frankly, at the beginning of this year, I'm already too anxious and stressed out to be thinking about something like that right now, when I have a million things on my mind at this moment. So something like that is something that I'm gonna have to give myself time to think about, because I already know what I'm gonna do if I don't get anywhere after 1 year. I know what I'm going to do, and I'm gonna talk about that soon. So now, the next thing that I wanted to talk about is for anyone that really wants to question me again and might even doubt as to whether or not I've really tried to think about everything. Yes, I have tried everything. I even came to a point where last year, because of how tired and frustrated I was of feeling like I never had enough time, I literally had a notebook, a sketchbook actually. It was a sketchbook. I bought that sketchbook just so that I could write out every single thing that I was doing for every single day within my life, what my schedule, my routine was like. And after I would write all of those things within my day for like 2 weeks straight, I would look back and see all of the things that I said, and I kept a record of the time that I did it at and how much time I was spending for each of those things. And I would carefully reread every single one of those things to see which of those things really matter, which of those things don't matter, and if they don't matter, just completely cut them out. And for the things that do matter, if they are something that I spend a small amount of time doing, good, keep it like that. If it's something that's important but you're spending a long time doing, well, try your best to shorten the amount of time that you're doing. This was something that I was trying to do, and it's not just this. I've tried so many other things, but I don't think that it's really necessary for me to say all of it. But just know that yes, I even went that far. And even after doing something like that, trying to look after that and then writing on a blank page what kind of improvements I need to make, trying to apply those improvements, and still not having the time or the energy to do this as much as I want to, I have tried everything. And I know this is the only way that I can be able to at least give it my all to die trying if I don't make this, which I do want to make it with this. Oh man, okay. Now, this next thing right here. So when it comes to this risk that I'm taking, guys, I want to let you all know that I live with my family. I live with my mother, my father, and my younger sister. And I told my parents. Now, here's the thing. I've done this for 6 years now, is what I've said, right? But for almost all this time, almost all these 6 years, I never told them or even let them know that I was doing YouTube, because I was always afraid of how they would feel, or if they would show any support, or if there would be a lack of support for me wanting to do this, because this is where my heart truly lies within. Now, I did this in 2 different ways. The first thing I did was I told them last week just last week at around the time of Christmas that I do YouTube, almost like a surprise on Christmas, like a Christmas gift, Christmas present, Christmas surprise. And so I did that to at least give them a few days to let it marinate within their head, this completely new thing that they had no idea about, that I was doing for a whole year, for so long, for so many years. And so I didn't also tell them, so yeah, because I'm a YouTuber, now I'm about to drop out of college for a year so that I can do YouTube full time. That wasn't until yesterday, last night, on New Year's Eve. And man, that was last night was one of the scariest nights of my life in terms of the amount of courage I had to build up to tell that to my father and to my mother in their face, what I'm going to be doing with my life. At first they were not happy, and at first they were, apprehensive of it, of course. And to be honest, I don't really blame them, because this is all too sudden for them. It is partially my fault for just telling them this at the last second. But I told them, and when at first they were, being a bit apprehensive and a bit worried and, like a bit angry that I'm doing this, when they saw the look in my eyes as to how serious I was about this and that I was not going to back down on this, eventually they started to understand that, yeah, this is really what our son wants to do with his life. And, well, even though it's not something that we originally wanted to happen, we're still going to choose to support him because he's our son. So I know even if they're going to try to give off the impression that they're supportive, it really feels more like that they're being understanding instead of being supportive, if that makes sense. But part of it is also because I'm just so tired of being so secretive. I feel like that's one of the biggest flaws about me. I'm too secretive. I like keeping things to myself. If I was a veteran who had just gone to a war and was suffering inside with all kinds of trauma, I'd be the kind of person that would keep it all to myself and no one would ever know. I think that's one of the biggest flaws about me. I'm too secretive. And so I wanted there to be no more secrets, especially with the people that are supposed to matter most to me, which is my family. And like I said again, guys, about how this is not going to be easy, I quit my job and I quit my university just to do this. I don't understand why I've got to have a journey like this with this much frustration and this much failure, and to go this far. But I don't care how much the world tries to reject me for my passion and for my love to do this, and for my dedication and my passion and my discipline. I'm going to force the world to give me what I want. And I will actually do the work that I need to do in order to be given the thing that I want the world to give me. Oh, this is going to be a good one. So, this isn't the first time, right, that some of you might have heard of this story of, and this isn't just with YouTube, but even when it comes to people who are singers, right, artists, musicians, dancers, actors, pro athletes, whatever, where they decided to drop out of college because they saw that they weren't getting anywhere with their dream, and it was a big risk for them as to whether or not they would actually get anywhere with their dream if they decided to drop out of college. I've seen that with so many YouTubers, and man, it's it really makes me so sick to my stomach to see them try to act like what they're doing is actually so inspirational and so inspiring and so risky, as if it was actually ever a risk to begin with. When so many of these guys, when they decided to drop out of college, the risk that they took was something that they did when they were already at like 100,000 subscribers, or 90,000, or 80,000, or 70,000. You already had such a big foundation established where you were already within the top 1% when you took this risk of yours. So I don't want to hear anything about how inspirational or how risky it is that you decided to drop out of college when it was very clear that you were already successful before you did that. What I'm doing right now is a risk. I don't even have 1,000 subscribers. I'm not rich. I'm not the most talented. I don't have any connections with anyone in this world when it comes to YouTube that can try to put me onto the next level. I'm looking so hard at this camera right now that everything around me in the world is literally starting to blur out for me right now. I don't know where I'm gonna be by the end of this year, guys. I don't. But what I am doing is a big risk. And as someone who has tried to be personal from time to time and make videos talking about myself in a way where I'm almost trying to share a story with all of you, while also understanding that, of course, not everyone is going to care about you. They just simply care about the content that you're uploading. You know, some people have to separate the artist from the work mindset, which is perfectly fine. There are some people that do want to have a connection with people because you never know what kind of life they're living. And so they might desperately seek that out with anyone. And if I can try to do that with myself, with this kind of journey that I've already had so far, if I were to do this now, this would be such a big risk that would turn out to be such an inspirational journey. It would. And if anybody wants to know how dedicated I am to this right now, I'll tell you this. If a big YouTuber came up to me right now, whether in person or in my DMs or whatever, and told me, hey man, I watched your latest video just now about how you're dropping out of college and going after your dreams of YouTube. The way that you explained yourself and the presence that you have on camera and the way that you carried yourself and the way that you show to everyone how much you care about this, it really touched my heart to watch you speak about this risk that you're about to take in your life and this new direction that you want to take. I'm willing to help you out, man. I've got a ticket and there's a flight that you can take within this week or even tomorrow that you could take. And I've got this thing set up for small YouTubers who are trying to make a name for yourself like you. And if you really are serious about this and you're dedicated like you mean it, you said it yourself, actions speak louder than words. I want to see that action of you actually flying out to this place to make your dream come true with this once in a lifetime opportunity that I'm giving you. I would do something like that in a heartbeat. That's my level of dedication right now. Oh, okay. Now, there's only 3 more things that I'm going to be talking about now, guys. So, this is, I can memorize all of this without looking at it now from this point on. So, earlier, just, a few minutes ago, we were talking about, I was talking about how, if I do succeed with this, then obviously I will continue YouTube. Now, some people might ask, okay, but Harpy, at least you got to give us a minimum goal to know what you're trying to do right now. What is the minimum goal that you're trying to set for yourself right now? The same as before. 1,000 is all I ask. Anything above that, great. I would love to get more. That's not just the end all be all. I would love to get more. And that's not all I want for my entire YouTube. What I want by the end of it all is to reach 10 million one day, to get the diamond play button. That is what I want. That is my ultimate final goal as the TheHarpyEagle. But of course, we got to start brick by brick, step by step. And the first step that I need to take, the first brick that I need to lay down for this foundation of my legacy is 1,000. So now, if that's the bare minimum goal, anything that I get below that means that I failed for this year and that I didn't get anywhere with this. And so, if I don't get anywhere with this, guys, at that point, having done YouTube for 7 years, and I can't even reach 1,000 subscribers, then I will quit YouTube and I will be done forever. Because I'm not going to keep chasing after something and continue having faith. I'm going to completely lose all faith that any of this will ever work out if it couldn't even work out for 7 years. So that's why I'm telling you right now that I'm going to become a completely different human being from this day forward. This is not something that I just simply thought about for a few weeks. This was not even something that I thought about for only a few months even. This was literally something that I had thought about ever since the month of March in 2025. And in the month of April, like everything I said within this video, after that class that I took in college, it solidified for me that this is what I must do. And you know, I want to say something, I guess, a little bit less serious. Lately, I've been seeing within myself that there's this song by the Black Eyed Peas, for any of you that know that music group, one of my most favorite groups of all time. There is a song of theirs that they made in 2010 from one of their albums, and it perfectly describes me right now with my life, and that song is called Someday. I love listening to that song to kind of help me with this kind of pressure that's going to be placed on me right now, and the kind of anxiety that I've been feeling for quite some time. And who knows, man? It's just like what the song said. Maybe someday I'll get it right. Told my friends, told my family, told my viewers, told the whole internet what I'm about to do. So let's see how everything plays out.